go. So I'm going to talk about my journey into something that wasn't explained to me because I went to a technical high school. Basically, we didn't learn physics and a couple of the things that many people in high school, and even I guess nowadays probably middle school, would learn while they're at school. So I don't understand like sound at the fundamental level. I don't understand light at the fundamental level in a sense, except for the fact that I understand how it pieces together. And I look at like the common sense behind these concepts. Like technically everything still is a theory because it hasn't been 100% proven. We can prove that this theory is plausible. That theory is plausible. But we can't guarantee that that theory is an indisputable fact in most cases. And even in, reality itself, it's not an indisputable fact. Let's imagine you just saw a tree behind me. That tree looks exactly the way it does. And in fact, it actually doesn't look the way it does. It's weird because when it comes to light, the light that we're seeing reflected is the light that's not absorbed by what it's reflecting off of. And therefore, you're not actually looking at the true color of something. You're looking at the color that doesn't belong. So everything that we're seeing is sort of like a contradiction to reality itself, the way that we try to understand it. That's why I say, nothing is in absolutes, because our brain is wired to receive the color and to attribute that color to that object. But we're attributing it in a different way than we expect. It's like the God system that I was explaining in many lives ago, probably like 10 lives, 20 lives ago, where God creates like this offset. And that offset is sort of like seeing a color as is being rejected by that element in that molecule, that molecular structure. So there's another thing that blows my mind about electricity and electrons and light, that when you send a photon into some object, basically it either passes through that object completely or it bounces out an electron, and that's why it lights up. But it has to be on a certain frequency that's allowed to actually be absorbed by that. It's like we're seeing two different realities at once all the time. That's why we see things differently. That's why we're like not seeing things different in individual humans. I'm talking about seeing things differently. Like there's a sparkle to something, and then there's a dullness to something. Hey, welcome back to the channel. So, I figured I'd talk about this, how you send light into something and it removes an electron, bumps an electron out. It's interesting. I'm not exactly 100% sure about like how all of it works, but like I said, I don't have a fundamental understanding of any of like most of science because I didn't actually take that class because I was in plumbing and heating, trade school, instead of having academics for every week of the year, we'd have academics and then shop. During that shop week, you would have like a couple of academics, and one of these academics would be you would have like full academics one week if you were in most of the trades, in most of the trade classes, and then there would be like a couple of classes out of that day that would be set aside for trade. So plumbing and heating, that was my That was my class that I would go to on academics, rather than going to physics or chemistry or really, the advanced sciences. So I didn't get the pleasure of going to regular, high school classes, technically, for that kind of stuff if I wanted to pursue common sense type of classes, such as plumbing and heating. So, stuff that'll actually apply to life, be able to use my hands. So I had to make a choice, and I made a choice of, I'm going to learn how to do a trade rather than actually learning academics. It's like, why didn't you go to college? Well, I went to a trade school. So it wasn't really in the whole playbook. So why would I go to college if I'm learning a trade? So I'm trying to understand it from like that layman's point of view of life, and from my own personal sort of observation and research. That's why I say, like, a lot of the stuff that I've said on my channel, a lot of the stuff that I've literally pioneered, in a sense, that idea, that thought process, it comes from a different place than the books. I'm looking at reality. I'm trying to understand things from an absolute fundamental perspective, but in reality itself, not what's just, written in a book. I scrutinize everything that I read in a book. So basically, my theory is that apparently aging seems to be when all the electrons have lost their placement, basically, and we lose life because the atoms, in a way, may lose life in ways that we don't know yet, because things happen so quick and we're looking at things through an electron microscope. We might be right about some things, but we may not be right about the majority of the process. But my point is that if you're not meant to see a light, you may actually be harmed by that light. And that's why light overcomes dark. And it sort of acts as like a weapon against darkness. So how does it all piece together? Science. Right now, I'm just going to get some orders, and it's going to be just doing that. Oh, and in 2.5 hours, I got to go on Farmtown, dude. So Farmtown has dropped in price like 30%. That's why you don't throw all your chickens in that basket. They may not lay eggs. But I'm not down. Like, I haven't actually lost any money because I didn't get into it at the top. And I'm feeling that perspective of like holding on a token that actually does have promise, and being able to trade those pumps even in a bear market. So I'm getting better at like bear market trading. I jumped into a coin, it went like 4 or 5x last night. So that's Soul Harvest. And now I've jumped back out of it, but only because the game requires you to trade your tokens into the game and then pull the tokens out as the currency. I don't know. They already have a system like that built in, where once you're in a sandbox. You're in like a private garden, basically, where they can manipulate the price at that point. But in Farmtown, I believe that it's going to be more of like a trading, fees collecting type of situation, where they're going to be collecting fees based on, trades. But right now I've got, if anybody did jump on Farmtown and, they're playing the game, I got 10 million gold so far, and I've got 300, I think it's like 304 plots of land I've unlocked. So when I did the video a few days ago I was showing that I had around maybe 100 plots, and I like unlocked like 10 plots while I was in the game. Well, it gets much harder to get these plots, and now I'm sitting at 300 plots. I got 300 seed slots plus a silo, which a silo is 50,000 gold. It's not very much compared to the 10 million, but soon, like, I'm gonna be getting one of the barns, and we'll see how taking care of cows in this little this internet farm is gonna play out. Let's see. This game just started, so the token itself, it hasn't been applied to anything really, except for making purchases. But for now, you need to buy like stars within the game in order to actually buy something, but it's only one thing, it's a torch. In the future, I guarantee it'll be you're trading farm tokens for items within the game, and you're trading items within the game for farm tokens. But I've seen a game like this turn into like a 200 million market cap. Right now, this market cap is at 1 million, so that's a 200x increase if it does go parabolic. So if anybody's, looking at the coin and they're like actually checking out the game has been updated. You can see it. The game is like way better looking than it was just yesterday. They made a huge update, not really a huge one, they made a visual update, but also they keep fixing functions in the game. I'm running into very minor bugs, but these bugs are inconsequential. Something like, so you have your farmer, you move your farmer over to do some kind of plant a plant or cut a tree down, and when you tap around an obstacle, it might have trouble getting around that obstacle on the first tap. Well, I'm seeing that become way more reliable. Stuff like that. Little bugs, it would still be able to walk over to it, it just wouldn't be as reliable. So I'm seeing the game actually develop, and people actually, people are holding. There's 5,500 people, I think, holding right now. It's one of those opportunities that if the game did actually lift off, which isn't guaranteed, if it does, they have the right team and they have the right concept too, because they're looking forward to crafting, adding animals to it, but also the trading aspect is going to be incredible if you're in it early. There's a lot of people that are just getting rid of their plants. They're just throwing them away. It takes like $2 to advance your crop 5 minutes. If anybody's spending money in this game, they're spending tens of thousands to get ahead. That's how much money is just dumped into this thing. So I look at it as a promising project. It could rival Sunflower Land only due to the fact that it's more convenient to play it. You only use one wallet. Like Phantom wallet browser is actually pretty reliable if you know how to use it. You gotta be able to refresh it. You gotta be able to know how to use the tabs. It's simple shit, obviously, because it's a browser. But just knowing how to refresh stuff and reopen stuff and have some kind of faith that the thing's going to actually work, a little bit of patience, you figure it out. Phantom Wallet's perfect. On Sunflower Land, I'd have to leave the app, download a version of the app that's not native to like any app store, then play it from there, but then switch back over to the wallet to be able to cash anything out or do any trades. But like, you could still trade on the marketplace without it, but you can't, cash out, cash in. You can't transfer assets and stuff from the interface on the third-party APK. So it's kind of more complicated than it needs to be to play Sunflower Land. This game is just a one app. You go into Phantom Wallet, it's asking for Phantom Wallet. It's also going to let you log in via Google. Go Google login, as well as Solflare Wallet they're going to add to it. So if you're on the Solflare and you're a Solflare geek, then you can use Solflare eventually at some point. It says coming soon. That was recently added in the game yesterday. They added the coming soon Solflare Google login. And so you have only one way to log in right now, Phantom Wallet. In the future, you'll have multiple other options. Give me 1 second so I can put this into split screen and not miss an order, guaranteed. I'll be right back. And hey, welcome people. People that are picky between wallets, if you're a Solflare bull, I guess you could call it, and you'll be able to use that at some point. If you like Google and you don't like logging into wallets all the time, then you can use Google at some point. All right, and so. I would say right now is probably the only time, the lowest price that you're going to be able to get the token, because like it's been strong, like 0.006, 5, there's 3 zeros and a 6, 8. Those are the prices that it just hasn't been able to break through above. So if you're seeing it at 6.6 right now, it's a good time to like pick it up. You're seeing it with 3 zeros and a 6.6, yeah. You're seeing 2 zeros and a 6.6. No, that's like, the thing has gone parabolic. It's like, you don't have time to jump in and wait until the next deal. Well, last night I was able to quadruple my profits, but the thing is, due to the fact that making the sales is difficult to do on one of these wallets without a bot. So in reality, the good strategy when dealing with these pump coins is to hold your convictions at a small amount of money. If you threw $5 in it, it might go to $50. Leave it in there. Leave it in there. I don't know why people people consider themselves to be, crypto masters. They think that they're masters because they keep screwing other people over and not even making any money in the process. Like, imagine that you left $1 behind in a coin, and then that coin goes to $100. Like, you had $1, now that turns into $100. That's rare. That's 1 in 100 that might do that. But that's a good enough chance to leave it behind, and also behind a good, healthy ecosystem. Because likely another person that got into that coin, they're also going to do the same thing. They're going to get into the next coin with you anyways. So why would you want to pull as much value away from somebody else as possible? What you want to do is obviously go after the bots. That's how you make good trades, is you want to make sure that there's no bots on the coin. But if your goal is to actually take out real humans, the same thing that applies in the crypto space, you're taking out investments towards another 100x. Same thing applies in real life. If your goal in real life is to make sure that people don't have things, then they're not going to have anything to continue buying so you can, have lower prices. Like, have a steady, here's the thing with the supply chain is that there is supply and demand, but if there is no demand, then the prices can go up because people stop making the stuff. The supply dies off. Same thing, applies to real life as crypto. So yeah, there might be no demand for it, but the price goes up because nobody's doing any trades. How are you gonna, the only person that's selling the coin is for the amount that you want it, Like, in order to buy 10% underneath the price, you'll have to buy $50,000, $100,000 worth of whatever it is. But if you want to buy it for a little bit higher, then you can spend $10. You don't have to spend $100,000 to get involved with it. That's the trick. That's the tricky loop that goes on with like the business trading sphere, but also happens in real life, and we barely notice it. You know, it especially applies to food. If nobody's making that food, and you really want that food, that food's going to be higher. It doesn't matter if there's no demand for it. You can go to some of these hibachi grills and they're empty. There's nobody at the stove. But because there's not enough business, they need to raise the price. The profit goes away if they don't make any sales, so then they need to make up for that loss in profit by raising the price, you know, at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter if there's supply or not. It doesn't, just because there's a supply doesn't automatically mean something goes lower in price. There still has to be interest. But then again, there's always going to be an interest in every little thing that we have on this planet. There's going to be an interest for this, no matter what. Somebody is going to have an interest in wood chips from, like, wood bark. Chips of bark. They're going to be an entrepreneur in that field. And they're willing to pay that premium price because they can actually turn that into something else. It doesn't matter if there's a lot of wood chips. There's still somebody willing to pay a decent price, and they may not even know it's half price in another city. That's what Amazon was supposed to do for us. It was supposed to make these things easier. It was supposed to make things a lot cheaper. What they did was they took that 10% of the cost to make the product, and you know, another 10% to even go sell the product, 80% profit. Maybe 10% of that would get taxed. You know, they took that business model and just turned it into a 10x profit. They didn't pass the savings on to regular people. Because stuff should have been 1/10 of the price. Actually, probably about 1/3 of the price. You know, the prices that we see today, we should be seeing the same prices that we saw 10 or 15 years ago based on the amount of technology that we have added into society to make things more efficient. Everything should be the same price. What companies have done, instead of keeping those prices to a modest profit, they've decided to capitalize on 10x profits. It's absolutely insane once you really look into it. But if you're not seeing the light naturally, you're not supposed to see the light. If you're sitting here having conflict with what I'm saying, you're not supposed to see the truth. Quit trying. Like, you can't fix stupid. That's where it applies. When it comes to laborious training and stuff, yeah, you can fix stupid. I mean, it's easy to, you know, somebody didn't know that if you go to smash rocks open, you're going to want to have glasses on while you're doing it. You're going to want to have safety glasses while you're smashing rocks next to your face with a hammer. But it doesn't matter. Some idiot, they're going to be able to learn once they get a chip in their eye. They'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I need glasses. They're gonna learn that real fucking quick, and they're gonna know to do that the next time. Yes, you can fix stupid when it comes to labor. You can't fix stupid when it comes to advanced levels of advanced forms of thinking. Yeah. Come on. Give me an order, guys. I'm sitting outside of a Family Dollar being a creep, waiting for an order. My freaking toe is still broken. When I did yard work the other day, one of these prickers, it wrapped around my freaking toe and it grabbed it and it twisted it. Literally. It twisted that freaking one toe that was broken. So it like re-broke my freaking toe. A pricker bush. So if you guys are trying Farmtown though, like, don't let your crops wither. Oh my god. So Matt, like, don't go for the crops that cost way too much, and if they wither, you're gonna lose your entire capital. Like, I'm sitting on 10 million gold in it because I've managed to, you know, be smarter about my next plants grown. I've grown like 20 star fruit now, which is a pretty big achievement. I'm level 50. That's like pretty much end game. This game came out like 4 days ago, and I'm at the top. And also, I'm not wasting my resources. So I'm sitting on, like, I have just so much more because of so many plants that I've planted. I gotta wait like 2 hours and 15 minutes now for me to go and harvest a bunch of, what did I grow? Grapes or something? That's 300 plots. I went and I grabbed one of the storage upgrades, 1.5 million for 300 slots. So if you want to get up to 300 slots, you're gonna pay 500,000 for the third tier. Fourth tier is 1.5 million. So that's like, that's $400 or it's $200 worth of upgrades for free just by playing the game and making sure not to let the crops wither. Think. What else can be said about farmland or Farmtown? Farmland, it's funny. I'm going to say something different than the actual name because it's so new. I'm bad with names. See, I can't even remember the game name. So I have like 2 weeks actually before that, before I have to get away. Somebody's having a retirement party. I gotta clean up. Like what? 20 minutes. See the $5 Little Caesars deal somewhere on like the advertising? They really come out with the $5 pizza again? That'd be insane. If you go to a different token, TRX or Tron, the token went and did a 10x. So there's a lot of these Chinese or these currencies from outside the country that are doing pretty well. So I had 10x in like Tron. I grabbed it out of my wallet. So I cashed out $4. I'm like, okay, I'll throw that over here. Is everybody broke? Everybody's poor now. Not a single video of a miracle on this channel. I don't know what that means. Like, that looks like a bot comment. I'd say it's a miracle that I'm still alive right now. Every time I'm riding this bike, it's a potential just dead. You know, I almost got hit 2 or 3 times the other day because people aren't paying attention. You know, if I hadn't swerved the hell out of the way while I got my blinker on, I'm showing the person behind me that I'm taking a left. I got my blinker on. The person goes to my left to go around me. And here I am. I'm like, oh, I'm about to take the left. And then I hear it on the left side of my head. I'm like, I hear something there. I barely look. I see it. I swerve. I'm like, oh my God, the motherfucker almost hit me. Another person almost hit me and would have actually run me over. People don't give a fuck about bicyclists, and that's what I'm saying. Like, anybody who's saying get on a bike to anybody who's not doing too well, you're basically telling them to go hurt themselves. And you need to be removed from society for having that opinion. You know, people used to see those that had less as an opportunity to do business with them because they need something. This backwoods mentality, let's all live in a cave. Well, that's why your currency is going to get robbed from underneath you. That's why you're going to have fraud in the government and people invading the fucking country. It's because you're not participating in society. I just want to go out into the middle of nowhere and then trade on the stock exchange. That's basically what you're doing by holding your gold. You're trading on a stock exchange. You're not exactly doing any ups and down trading. It's not what God wanted. That's not what Jesus said. He said, spend your money. Especially on the people that matter, the people that are closest to you, within your family, etc., within your community. So when you see these churches, that's, as long as it's a church that serves Americans and not all foreigners, if it doesn't have Espanol on the front of their on the front of their church, then they may just actually be helping Americans. Yeah, that money goes to the right place, you know? Oh, sweet. Let's see where it's going. Come on. Let me see. Oh, okay. Well, I just got an order. So I can get now. Yeah, so if Jesus said spend your money, I mean, I think it must be poor people that are doing God's greatest work then. They've spent it all. They don't have the money. But many of them spend it. Worst investment I've ever made is cigarettes. But it stops there. So yesterday, I smelt a familiar smell because I used to do concrete work, and we'd use, there was a certain level of corrosive acid that you could put into the mix that'll help clean off the concrete, right? So, as I'm riding my riding down the street with a tank of corrosive acid that has a leak in it. The shit was getting all over the road. That's the kind of stuff that's on the road right now. Probably likely some foreigner. But I got corrosive acid sprayed on my face yesterday. I quickly wiped it off. It wasn't very much of it. It was just a sprinkles, a spray. But that's going all over your vehicles. It's a bad situation. So that took me a couple of minutes to pick up, and I arrived at the store at like a minute before it was supposed to be picked up. Oh, wow, I got some more comments on my video. I just got a bunch of random comments completely unrelated to the video on my last one. Literally 15 comments that don't apply to the video in any way, and they don't even apply to random conversation either. It's not even like a, hey, what's up guys, what's up fam, but it's interesting. If it gets me more views, then that's cool, I appreciate it. Trying to spread that game around, get people in it, because it's gonna, or at least get, you know, the videos out first. I got 4 other videos of me harvesting other crops that I haven't uploaded yet, but yeah. I think I'm gonna do a whole harvesting recording of star fruit at some point. And that's gonna be insane. So it's like, imagine 300 star fruit in one video. Be ahead of the game, you know? but I watched the token that I was in last night graduate, and they've got like a whole signals and stuff going on with their Telegram actually. So I was doing good, but now I'm out of the coin. I lost that money. only obtain farm token here. So you can, if anybody is on my channel that are trying to figure out how they're going to get the farm token, you can't get in the game yet. Besides, if you spend farm and you get the token, like this is brand new. Sweet. Let's go. It's 3 miles for $6. So that really actually puts me in a very good spot, because that means I can charge my battery like fully within about 4, maybe 3 hours when I get back. Oh shit, what? Is this thing telling me to turn around? Why didn't it tell me to not turn around and instead just go the right way? This thing just told me to like go this way, and then it told me I need to fucking figure this. What the hell is the problem? It's bringing me around the loop. I gotta go. I gotta find out where I'm going. So I was wrong. Apparently I was going the right way. Dude, spin around. I knew I was going the right way back, but I was like, well, which way do I go? Which way do I turn after that? Am I going the right freaking turn? Last one for a few hours. It's one item. But Anastasia. Got more napkins. Yeah, so if people are wondering where to get the farm token, you don't get it in the game. You're gonna have to get it from Pump Fund Marketplace through Phantom. Soulflare might have it still, or now, or I'm not sure, because it hasn't been verified technically. But we've also got an X account that's been posting about it. But you guys can check out my farm by going to the link in the descriptions. I don't have a link on this live, but on my videos where you might have found my channel and watching the game, Farmtown. for another run later. Can you tell me my name? What? Why? What for? We have a new mission. Okay, so gold is a good investment. Yeah, for those who are in at 300 an ounce. Now it's 3,000 or 5,000. It's already 10x, guys. You can pull the shit out of the ground. Silver is a different story. Silver is used up when it's used. Like, people don't actually usually retain their silver. They don't take it. They don't keep their silver. Using it, please. A good example is, bombs that are flying around. That uses gold. I mean, that uses silver. Bro. Silver, it gets blown up, and you don't normally recover it. Gold, on the other hand, you're recovering it a lot. feel like $1 for this much protein is extremely cheap. So $1 for a dozen eggs? Did Trump do that?